Internet of brain, thought, thinking, and creation. And this is from the Chinese Journal of Electronics that was published on November 2022. Thinking space came into being with the emergence of human civilization. With the emergence and development of cyberspace, the interaction between those two spaces began to take place. In the collision of thinking and technology, new changes have taken place in both thinking space and cyberspace. To this end, this paper divides the current integration and development of thinking space and cyberspace into three stages, namely, Internet of Brain, Internet of Thought, and Internet of Thinking. At each stage, the contents and technologies to achieve convergence and connection of spaces are discussed. Besides, the Internet of Creation is proposed to represent the future development of thinking space and cyberspace. Finally, a series of open issues are raised, and they will become thorny factors in the development of the Internet of Creation stage. The key words here are thinking space, cyberspace, Internet of Brain, Internet of Thought, Internet of Thinking, and Internet of Creation. The emergence of the concept of the Internet of Things has become the theoretical basis for integrating physical space and cyberspace. Driven by the development of network and communication technology, the interaction between things lays the foundation for realizing the ubiquitous connection between two spaces. This paradigm also leads to such thinking. Will cyberspace interact with other spaces to form a new development model? Therefore, concepts such as Internet of Objects, this paradigm is devoted to the interaction between physical space and cyberspace. The Internet of Services, this paradigm is devoted to the interaction between physical space, social space, and cyberspace. And the Internet of People, this paradigm is devoted to the interaction between social space and cyberspace, have been put forward one after another, which also reflects the influence, scope, and ability of cyberspace. Thinking space, as the product of human brains, has also interacted with cyberspace, and they have collided with many cyber and cyber-enabled thinking sparks in continuous development. Unlike physical space and social space, things in thinking space seem to be more abstract, more mysterious, and even unable to express effectively. When the prelude of cognitive revolution opened, human beings began to understand and feel the world in a new way. The emergence of language, religion, and thought endows the world with civilization, order, and intelligence. These thinking makes the relationship between people close and provides a good platform for large-scale social communication to break through the blood, geographical, and other restrictions. Human wisdom is not formed in a day. This is the inevitable result of human brain's continuous evolution. This time-consuming process has allowed the Earth's civilization to continue growing and advancing to a very high degree of richness. Generally speaking, thinking space contains all things related to thinking, cognition, idea, etc. They may be tangible, such as books, laws, paintings, etc., or intangible, such as thoughts, ideologies, ideas, etc. But these things have a common characteristic. That is, they are all objective existence. It is necessary to point out the various forms it can express thinking. For example, human speech and action can be seen as indirect ways of expressing thinking. When cyberspace with virtual and abstract characteristics appeared, the convergence and connection of those two spaces began to emerge and show a trend of continuous expansion, committed to providing people-oriented services. As a digital space, contents to be processed in cyberspace can be divided into four categories: data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. Among them, data is the most basic form of cyberspace, which is discrete and unsystematic. Information results from further processing of data and has time characteristics. Knowledge is the further processing and optimization of information. And wisdom is the objective law with significance. Compared with cyberspace's basic content, they are just in line with the production process of human thinking in brains. For example, a person saw a flower, which is data, then knew its characteristics, which is the information, and classified it into a variety, which is the knowledge. Finally, this person made it into a specimen, which is wisdom, and put it at home. This way of processing from shallow to deep creates a form of interaction between two spaces, as shown in Figure 1. Figure 1 is the basic connection between thinking space and cyberspace. And here you have the lovely image with the data, the information, knowledge, and wisdom. From the bottom level data to high level wisdom, fewer and fewer contents are interacted between two spaces, caused by their increasingly more robust abstraction. In addition, this bottom-up interaction will make contents more versatile, but at the same time, it will be more challenging to interact. Besides, the emergence of a series of critical technologies is also helping to realize this bottom-up interaction. Considering the convergence degree, connection scope, and technical difficulty of thinking space and cyberspace, this paper divides the current interaction of two spaces into three development stages, namely Internet of Brain, Internet of Thought, and Internet of Thinking. This paper also has a reasonable prospect for the future interaction of two spaces and describes it as the Internet of Creation. The four development stages are progressive, reflected in the convergence degree and connection scope of two spaces. In addition, the capabilities of entities will also demonstrate this process. In this paper, entities are divided into two types: thinking entities and cyber entities. Thinking entities include things related to thinking and humans because humans are the source of thinking. Cyber entities are the collective term for all things in cyberspace that apply different forms of thinking. Whether robots with interactive capabilities or sensing devices that can only perform simple data processing, they are all part of cyber entities. The purpose of the four stages is the same, that is, to realize the deep interaction between thinking space and cyberspace. To achieve this goal will also help to realize the deep convergence and ubiquitous connection of physical, social, thinking space, and cyberspace, which will become the critical step in the formation of cyber-physical social thinking hyperspace, general cyberspace, Net of Things, and other paradigms. The main contribution of this paper, as follows: describing the Internet of Brain, Internet of Thought, Internet of Thinking, Internet of Creation, and comparing them from several aspects that best reflect their differences. These comparisons mainly rely on objective changes in the capabilities of entities. In addition, the four conceptions and other paradigms are compared based on empirical and theoretical standards. Investigating the mainstream technologies that promote the development of Internet of Brain, Internet of Thought, and Internet of Thinking, and expounding the interaction state of thinking space and cyberspace in each stage. These technologies can represent the characteristics of a specific stage, and related work in the technology can mean its development prospects and deficiencies. Prospecting the possible development trend of thinking space and cyberspace in the future, and the word Internet of Creation is used to summarize. summarizing some open issues which have not been solved at present. Reasonable solutions will promote the further interaction and development of two spaces. Internet of Brain. The Internet of Things achieves the interaction of physical space and cyberspace, and the Internet of People interacts with social space and cyberspace. For thinking space, we think that there must be a kind of way that interconnects entities in thinking space and interacts them with entities in other spaces. Internet of Brain can well describe the initial form of interaction between thinking space and cyberspace. As can be seen from Figure 2, Internet of Brain is considered the beginning of the fusion of two spaces. And here's Figure 2, which shows you the interrelationship between Internet of Brain, Internet of Thought, Internet of Thinking, and Internet of Creation. If we start with the Internet of Brain, we can see brain-computer interface, bionic algorithms, and as you can see, the knowledge gets extracted into the Internet of Thought. You have the knowledge storage, knowledge computation. Then here is the thought representation and thought abstraction. We have thinking interconnection, which brings us into the Internet of Thinking. And here you have an individual, a cyborg, a group, or artificial intelligence. And this is all together in your cyberspace, which brings us to Wisdom Fusion. You have the Wisdom Computing Platform. And on the left side, you have Creation Generates Wisdom. And on the right, Wisdom Prompts Creation, which all leads down to human-machine collaboration and our Internet of Creation. A brain is the source of wisdom, such as thoughts and ideas, so it is crucial to form thinking space. As early as 1958, hold on, right there, as early as 1958, von Neumann published the book The Computer and the Brain, which focused on the relationship between mathematical calculations in computers and the human brain. The book laid the foundation for later electronic devices and software algorithms. Therefore, the interaction of brains can be seen as the initial stage of the network of thinking. Through some specific devices or means of communication, it achieved the interaction of human brains and cyber entities. The above methods are an essential step to realize the mapping from human brains to cyberspace, namely the embryonic form of cyber brains. And this is also the primary task of the Internet of Brain stage. As the starting point of the interaction between thinking space and cyberspace, the definition of Internet of Brain has dual meanings. On the one hand, the stage is dedicated to realizing the effective mapping of ideas, opinions, and other thinking to cyberspace. On the other hand, this stage tries to use bionic technology so that cyber entities can simulate human thinking. At this stage, human thinking can be encoded and transformed. Thinking processes can be simulated in cyberspace, and thinking can be expressed, communicated, and stored in the form of data and information. Cyber entities can complete simple tasks according to humans' will, assist in production and life, and are reflected in aspects such as interpersonal communication, data sharing between cyber entities, and human-computer interaction. Brainstorming, data transfer protocol, brain-computer interface, etc. can help achieve these goals. The ability of the Internet of Brain is well corresponding to the stage, which focuses on the integration of thinking data and information processing. As the beginning of the convergence and connection between thinking space and cyberspace, Internet of Brain is also committed to providing data and information support to develop the next stage. The key technologies of Internet of Brain. In this stage of Internet of Brain, the most important task of thinking space and cyberspace is data collection and information processing. How to data thinking or simulate human brain thinking and represent it in the cyber world has become two major tasks in the stage. In order to get the data thinking and transmit them effectively, a series of brain-computer interface methods have been developed. Simultaneously, to fully simulate the way of thinking of the human brain, a series of bionic algorithms have also been proposed. Number 1. Brain-computer interface. The interaction of thinking entities and cyber entities is the first essential issue for Internet of Brain. At present, the main approaches of interaction are A. Thinking entities send instructions to cyber entities, which is thinking controls cyber entities directly. B. Cyber entities capture and analyze the meaning of thinking entities, actions, and language, which are indirect expressions of cyber entities' understanding of thoughts. However, thinking entities communicate with cyber entities straightforward is the ultimate goal of two spaces interaction. Thinking can be expressed directly or indirectly. For indirect expression of thinking, there are mature and complete technologies to obtain. But the direct acquisition and processing of thinking is quite a challenging problem. In terms of thinking acquire, this paper mainly focuses on two aspects: sensing and connection. Sensing is the way that thinking entities map to cyberspace. It focuses on information collection, and it consists of a set of sensing nodes. Most of the information needed for Internet of Brain, Internet of Thought, Internet of Thinking, and Internet of Creation is generated by the thinking process. Those information needs to be transmitted into cyberspace. Thinking of cyber entities is expressed in the form of data, but obtaining process is quite complex. The signal generated by brains should be captured by electronic devices. Some of them are easy to be extracted, while some others are difficult. Connection refers to that non-homologous thinking data is fused in cyberspace, making cyber entities communicate with thinking entities. It is also the premise that the raw data evolve to advanced forms. Effective connection will be the key to effective communication between thinking entities and cyber entities. Brain-computer interface, as a technology that provides methods to process brain messages, may play an essential role in sensing and connecting thinking space and cyberspace. Since the brain wave was discovered in the 1920s, you see, 1920s, over 100 years ago, people never stop to explain the mysteries of brains. Brain science focuses on brain structure and function, including cognitive neuroscience, and so on. In cyber-enabled thinking space, thinking generated by humans should be formed as digital data. Thus, brain-computer interface may be a practical approach to digitalizing the brain wave. Brain-computer interface is defined as a communication and control technology that building a connection between the brain with digital devices, which enables brain activities to control external devices. Researchers on human brain's architecture are the basis of brain-computer interface. Using neuroimaging methods, the change of blood flow in the brain can be traced to analyze brain activities. Now, brain-computer interface devices can be classified into invasive, semi-invasive, and non-invasive according to the invasiveness. For these three types of brain-computer interface devices, Table 1 compares them from the installation location, security risk, cost, and other aspects. And here's Table 1, classification and characteristics of brain-computer interface devices. A brain-computer interface device that is invasive Its installation area would be in the cerebral cortex. The security risk is high, the cost is high, and the signal quality is high. Physiological basis, changes in biological potential. Acquisition devices, such as brain sensor chips, implantable electrodes, and pulse generators. And the data types are peak potential, local field potential, and you got the EEG signal. Now, for a semi-invasive brain-computer interface device. Its installation is in the cranial cavity, outside the cerebral cortex. Its security risks are mid, the cost is high, and signal quality is high. The physiological basis, acquisition devices, and data types are exactly the same as an invasive brain-computer interface device. Now, if we look at the non-invasive brain-computer interface device, the installation area is on the scalp. The security risks are low, the cost is low, and the signal quality is mid. Physiological basis has changes in biological potential, has biological magnetic field signal, homeodynamics, blood oxygen activity, and metabolical accumulation of radioactive materials. The acquisition devices include EEG scanner, superconducting quantum interference device, full head multi-track biomagnetometer. We have the MRI, near-infrared functional brain imager, and a PET scanner. The data types are EEG, MEG, functional MRI, functional near-infrared spectroscopy, and a PET scanner. I will leave a link in the description to this paper for all those who would like to keep reading.